Sajah, you were just showing me the plant itself, Devil's Club. Do you want to just give a general sense of what it does, why it's growing here, and its characteristics?
Yeah. So this is Devil's Club. Its Latin name is Opalopanax horridus or horridum. It is in the ginseng family, so it is our local northwest ginseng species, and as you can see, it typically likes to grow around water in cold, damp, dark environments, typically in the northwest forest zone here. And its primary uses is, on the physiological level, is as an adaptogenic remedy that helps to build the adrenal glands and help to regulate blood sugar levels, and it's really great for people that are cold and deficient, so they're run down, tired, exhausted, and it helps to build that core vitality and chi in the solar plexus. So from more of an energetic perspective, it's working on the Manipura, the third chakra. Astrologically, it relates to Mars and the earth element. Typically the root bark is used in the harvested in the fall time is when it is utilized the best. And then on more of the subtle energetic or spiritual levels, it's used as a protection remedy, as a remedy to kind of shield us from psychic attack. It's one of the ways the coastal natives utilize this remedy, was as a way of, the shamans or the medicine people would build huts actually out of the stalks with the spikes on them to utilize that for psychic protection during healings and things like that. And then of course there's the traditional use of burning the plant down to an ash and mixing that ash with bear grease, which they would use as tattoos, and they would tattoo themselves with that medicine to kind of instill that protection and that vitality into their bodies in that way.
Cool. Well, Sajah, we're sitting here at the retreat doing our Stephen Herod Buhner workshop. I think it's the last one that he's doing as far as the flames. I got really attracted to a lot of your knowledge when we were sitting around the table one evening talking, and we were just chatting about my approach to tattooing, and you seemed to be sort of excited about how I was approaching it, and you had a few things to say. Could you just introduce yourself as far as what your background is, what
Sure.
you do? And
Yeah. So my name is Sajah Popham, and I'm the founder of Organic Unity and the School of Evolutionary Herbalism. And, really my work is focused on bridging people and plants in a healing way so that people can reconnect to the sacredness of the earth and of their own hearts and minds and really heal themselves, on the physical level and psychologically, emotionally, and so that they can come to that place of clarity to really see what their own purpose in life is, so that they can follow that, what Stephen says, like follow that golden thread, through their life, and it's going to lead them, to their destiny in a good way. So that's really kind of what my work is focused on, and I achieve that through teaching and through my consultation work with clients, and also through preparing spagyric extracts of plants, which is an aspect of the Western alchemical tradition from Europe. So that's just a little bit about what I do.
can you just go into a little bit about what spagyric
Sure.
is compared to another form of, or what makes it special?
Yeah, so a spagyric extract, the word spagyric comes from Paracelsus, who was a physician and alchemist in the early 1500s from Switzerland, and it's a combination of two Greek words, speo and giro, and that means to separate and recombine. So in the spagyric process, a plant is separated into what the alchemists called sulfur, mercury, and salt, or the soul, spirit, and the body of the plant, which they saw reflected physiologically as the essential oil, the fermented and purified alcohol, and the mineral salts of the plant. And those three substances are extracted and purified and then recombined back together. But the spagyric process also, that word reflects the way those particular medicines work inside of us. So they separate out the pure from the impure
and kind of exalt us or purify us or distill us up into our essential nature, and then put us back together into a new form, a new way of being that is more in alignment with our own true nature and our own constitution and our purpose. So in that way, it's an evolutionary perspective to medicine that's focused not just on physical health and vitality, but also our spiritual evolution and growth and self-understanding. So one of the main differences between a spagyric extract and a standard like herbal tincture that you find out there on the market is the presence of the mineral salts. So most herbal extracts, once the plant material has been extracted, they'll throw the physical plant material away. Mm-hmm. In the spagyric process, that physical plant material holds the salt principle of the plant. It's the body of the plant, which is processed through burning it down and taking it through various processes to essentially crystallize the minerals. So you end up with basically, crystals from the plant, which are seen as that purified body, which is then that, just like our physical bodies are the vehicle for our soul and spirit to work through, in the same way, those mineral salts are the vehicle for the intelligence of the plant to work in our own bodies. Yeah.
Now when we were talking about my tattooing and the way that I work, we were chatting briefly about the idea of putting a plant-based additive into the ink and the possibilities, and you seemed fairly enthusiastic about that, and you had some suggestions.
Yeah, well, I think what inspired me in that conversation was really hearing your own personal philosophy around your art and what it is that you do, and how, you were talking a lot about kind of tapping into someone's, this is my way of describing it, of course, but like what I was really hearing you say in that is that you're really looking into someone's kind of soul expression, or like their energetic architecture, and in that way it's like you're getting a vision for them, and then like you're imprinting that onto their body. And the power of the symbol is such a, symbols carry the archetypes into form, and how the symbol shape shifts the unconscious, and how in your work, as you're putting this symbol or this image on someone's body, you're like anchoring this vision that to me seems like you're tapping into an expression of their soul. And in that way, so I was kind of seeing this bridging that you're doing of putting something as a high expression of like their soul, and like anchoring it into the physical body. And that's such a beautiful expression of what alchemy is, right? As above, so below. It's about fixing the more spiritual, etheric qualities of life into the physical material through being consciously aware of that process. And so when you were kind of asking me about plants, and the first one that came up for me was the Devil's Club, because it does have traditional use as a remedy for tattooing. The indigenous in North America would burn it down and mix the ash with bear grease and then tattoo with that, and they would utilize that for protection and for power and like that. So the other herb that came through was the white sage, which is a remedy that I utilize in my practice a lot for people that sometimes have this split between their practical physical world and their spiritual world. That's like, to me, it's the remedy that enables us to walk the spiritual path with practical feet. Right? Mm-hmm. So it bridges the above and below, so that there isn't a disconnection or dissonance between our spiritual life and our day-to-day living. And so to me, I felt like that was such a beautiful reflection of what you're talking about, what you're doing in your tattooing, of kind of bringing that vision into form through the body, right? So it's like very embodied, and it's that carrying that creative expression.
That's cool. You had mentioned Devil's Club and two others, and you were mentioning sort of like masculine, feminine, and sort of a middle of the road idea.
Right. Yeah. So you were kind of asking about how to determine which which remedy you would maybe want to work with in the ink, and we had started talking about white sage and the Devil's Club, and I work a lot with like patterns, and in the energetic architecture of creation, right? And to me, we can see life through various layers of architecture, and one of the primary patterns is the three, right? The Trinity, right? And the masculine and the feminine, and then kind of that more neutral, unified aspect. And so to me, Devil's Club is a very masculine, young, quality plant, and then the white sage is a very kind of neutral. It's like a mercurial plant, right? It kind of bridges opposites, and it's like it's like the hermaphrodite. So the third plant that arose in my awareness was the wild rose, and because the wild rose really embodies the sacred feminine. You know, it's like if we can think of one image of the divine feminine, I think the rose is this universal symbol that comes up cross-culturally, worldwide. And so to me, those three remedies, the white sage, the Devil's Club, and the wild rose, really embody this holy trinity of life, of the masculine force or yang energy, the feminine force or the yin energy, and then the balance of the two, and how, you know, essentially whatever quality you're wanting to bring into that tattoo, it's like when you put that herb in there, it's going to be anchoring that architecture, like the signature of that plant into the ink and into someone's body. So yeah, that was kind of my thoughts around it.
It's kind of cool. Once I was taking part in a Sufi ceremony, and they used rose almost like the way Native Americans would use sage. It seemed like a kind of a cleansing. It was a liquid, and they'd sort of sprinkle that on each other, which was interesting.
Huh. As like a water.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, well, certainly the white sage is a great cleansing remedy. You know, that indigenous cultures have, you know, used it as a fumigant or a smudge, burning the smoke to cleanse energetically as well as physically. I mean, there is, you know, antibacterial properties to the smoke itself too, and then of course the Devil's Club has some of those qualities as well.
With your work, how do you see, or how do you perceive or understand the human being and, I don't know, energy, grids, patterns, language, what have you, and in how your application of these remedies work, just in a general sense?
Well, I use a lot of different traditions based on, you know, to me, like different energetic patterns are like different tools, you know. It's like you have the four-sided screwdriver and you've got the slotted screwdriver, and they fit a different kind of, you know, pattern, right? And so it's like they're different tools. So, you know, for me, I work with three, what I call energetic architecture, so three different levels of architecture. So there's the 7 planets, which correspond to the 7 chakras, the 7 days of the week. There's the 5 elements, and then there's the Trinity, or the threefold pattern. And so when I'm working with people, I'll see kind of into what's going on with them on a physiological, psychological, emotional, and spiritual level, and then see kind of what part of their energetic architecture is malfunctioning or not communicating with the rest of their organism properly through the correspondences. So say if someone is having, you know, a lot of inflammation and stress and their adrenal fatigue, well, that would be seen as a Mars imbalance. And so you would apply Mars remedies in order to adjust that part of their energetic architecture and bring it back into balance. So that's kind of the general way that I look at it. And the beauty of an energetic language is that it's a translation mechanism. So with an energetic language, you can express not only a physiological truth, but a psychological and emotional truth as well. And so you're using one language to describe the wholeness of being, as opposed to using a chemical language to describe the body, a psychological language to describe the mind, and another language to describe the emotions, and maybe a whole other one for the spirit. It's like you have a universal language that sees the unity of not only our being, that we're an organic unity unto ourselves, but that our unity is connected to the unity of all of life. And so that's, you know, kind of the premise behind why I call my work organic unity, because I see that all of the nature, you know, is interconnected in that way.
So would you say that, I mean, a large portion of the public in our culture see things as very separate? Is that a kind of an illusion?
Indeed, to me, separation is
Mistaken identity or something?
Yeah, to me, separation is the foundational illusion that we all carry. You know, it's only when we're separate from the earth that we can poison it.
Mm.
You know, because if we're not a part of it, then we can do whatever we want to it. But as soon as we're a part of that, then we're poisoning ourselves, and it's like a whole shift in our psychological structure then. But at the same time, you know, there's kind of this thing in the New Age spiritual movement of like, oh, we're all interconnected and we're all one, which is true in a transcendent kind of perspective, and yet we're all separate. And it's the separation that is what creates the diversity of life, right? And that's, you know, something that the Mayans talk about is that, you know, the beauty isn't in the unity, the beauty is in the diversity and in the separation. And that's what it's the boundaries of form that give us, you know, all the multi expressions of the life force, you know.
So it's kind of it's not one or the other. It's quite often opposites can merge and be there at the same time. In other words.
Indeed, and I think that's one of the premises behind the alchemical tradition is that unity of opposites. You know, that the above and the below are one, that the within and the without are unified, you know. And you know, if we look at a lot of the traditional spiritual books, you know, from around the world, the Tao Te Ching, it's like so much of that book is talking about the unity of polarities and how we think of these opposites as not being able to exist simultaneously, but yet they do, you know, in the same way that it's daytime here and yet nighttime somewhere else. They're both existing at the same time. So, yeah, that's just kind of my way of looking at it.
My wife, when I first met her, I remember her saying, if it's a paradox, it's probably true.
Indeed. Yeah, one of my teachers says that wherever we see a paradox, the soul is present.
Ah, nice. I love that one. Sajah, if people want to get a hold of you, can they do a consultation or something by phone or email? Or?
Certainly. Yeah, I definitely can do phone consultations or Skype consultations. My websites are organic-unity.com. That's like a hyphen, not an underscore. So organic-unity.com. And then evolutionaryherbalism.com is for the school. And I've got some other videos up there, some free teachings that I give out there. Yeah, and all my contact information is on the website there. And people are more than welcome to be in touch with me for consultation or to just order products from the website there.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yeah.